Hey, all you need to win a baseball game is good pitching, good hitting, and good defense. The Dodgers got it all. They beat the Giants. We are live. Let's talk. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. And thanks to those of you who are up late, live with us tonight on YouTube. We are live again, having a lot of fun doing this. Maybe not every day, but we like doing it, so we will keep doing it pretty often. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snyder. My co-host is Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonmlb and use code all lowercase lockedonmlb for a first deposit match up to $100. And Vince, it was a frustrating weekend for the Dodgers and their fans, losing to the Padres 2 out of 3. But now we're playing the real rivals, and the Dodgers showed up. It wasn't a dominant performance by any means. It was come from behind win, but the Dodgers got clutch hitting, great relief pitching, and some good defense. And kind of when you combine those three things, you're going to win more often than you don't.
Yeah, it was one of those. They haven't really had too many games like this one. They usually get out ahead and kind of stay ahead. They've had a few come from behind wins for sure, but this one was one where like it was close. They got down, they came back, went down again, came back again, and then held it down there at the end and got the hits they needed, especially the hits in extra innings when they haven't necessarily done so in the past. So that was good to see. And yeah, I mean, the Giants are obviously, they showed it during the broadcast. They're pretty down bad right now in terms of injuries and everything else, but that makes it even more of a reason that the Dodgers should win.
Yeah, I didn't realize they had that many injuries. I don't pay a lot of attention, except when the Dodgers are playing the Giants or when the Giants are chasing the Dodgers in the standings or vice versa. I didn't realize it had quite so many injuries, but it was kind of funny because the injury replacements, the guys who would be playing in AAA right now, if not for the injuries, are the guys who drove in the 4 runs for the Giants. So it wasn't their established players. It was the young guys who got it done. But ultimately, the Dodgers got it done more. And I think this first segment, we want to talk about the offense mostly. The Dodgers had 4 different guys who had 2 hits and at least 1 RBI. Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Will Smith, and Gavin Lux. And when you get that production from those guys, it's that's 5 runs right there that they drove in, which is more than the Giants scored. So I mean, that's the game. Plus, Kiké Hernandez had the big clutch hit, pinch hitting for James Outman, hit a home run to tie the game after the Dodgers had just tied it and then given up a lead again. Kiké tied it back up, so doesn't even get to extra innings without Kiké's hit. Kind of up and down the lineup when you get that production. That's the 1, 2, 4, 8 and 9 hitters basically drove in because Lux was batting 8th, I think. Yeah, so Kiké's spot was Kiké in the 9th spot. So those 5 spots got the job done for the Dodgers. That's pretty spread out pretty well. So even though it was an off night for Freddie Freeman, an off night for Teoscar Hernandez, off night for Max Muncy, there was enough production throughout the lineup from those other guys to get it done.
Yeah, and yesterday's episode was about Mookie hadn't homered in a long time, and he had 1 homer in his last 30 games. Will Smith had went over 10 over the weekend with 5 strikeouts. And then Mookie Betts homers the first at bat of the game, and Will Smith comes through a couple times during the game. And yeah, it's one of those things where this can all flip very easily. Will Smith talked about it after the game. He was talking to Kirsten Watson. He said he lost his mechanics for about a week there, and hopefully on his way back from that. So sometimes it's just as simple as that for Mookie. It's one of those where he hadn't stopped hitting necessarily. He was hitting less, but he was also hitting 380 at one point, and that wasn't going to be sustainable. But he did lose a little bit of power, got the power back, at least in this one. We'll see if he catches a streak. Last year, he didn't hit any of the first month or one the first month of the season and then went on a tear. This time he got on a tear to start it, then went a month with just hitting one. So, all in all, he's on track to kind of where he was last season. But yeah, I mean, we talked about when the top of the offense, when the top of the order goes, the rest of the team goes. And, when 3 of the 4 guys have 2 hits, that's probably beneficial.
Yeah. And there were some Padre fans in our mentions in their feelings about yesterday's episode that you weren't giving enough credit to the Padres pitching. But the fact is, this Dodgers lineup, when it's right, is going to hit good pitching, bad pitching, and mediocre pitching, everything in between. When the Dodgers offense struggles, it's usually because, like Will Smith said, they lost their mechanics. Yeah, I mean, good pitching exists. And yeah, the Padres pitchers pitched really well this weekend. They pitched better than they would have if the Dodgers offense hadn't been slumping, though, and it's we are a Dodgers podcast. Of course, we're going to talk about the Dodgers side of things. But yeah, it's the fact is Jordan Hicks has been a pretty good pitcher this year. And the Dodgers, even though they didn't really get to him a ton, but they did get his pitch count way up. So they got him out of the game early, which is something that the Dodgers specialize in doing. And they did, they set themselves up to be able to score the runs when they needed to. Gavin Lux hit the ball hard a couple times, a base it up the middle, and then a double over the center fielder's head. The center fielder stumbled. I do think, who was it? Luis Matos, I think. I think that's probably a double anyway, because he stumbled a little bit, but he still didn't get within 15 feet of the ball. I don't.
He had 2 tonight that the one he stumbled and even the one Will Smith hit. I don't think he gets him either way, but a good center fielder or someone that's maybe used to playing center field out there might have got to him. Maybe.
Yeah, the Dodgers maybe benefited from the injury. Who normally plays center field for Michael Conforto?
No, Jung-Ho.
Oh, Jung-Hoo Lee, that's right. I don't actually have any idea how good a defender Jung-Hoo Lee is. I know he's fast, but I don't know if he's a good defender. I haven't, like I said, Dodgers haven't played against Jung-Hoo Lee in a while, so I haven't thought about him in a while. But yeah, the Matos definitely isn't a great center fielder, but Lux hit that ball 108 miles an hour, something like that. So yeah, I mean, he earned that hit. And him hitting the ball hard is a great sight to see for me because, throw in what we're going to talk about in the third segment, which is that Gavin Lux has been very good defensively. We have some numbers to back that up. And then if he can start hitting like he is legit, back in 2022, he was probably the best number 9 hitter in baseball most of the season. And I could definitely get on board with that version of Gavin Lux coming back.
Yeah, he's coming up. They said 150 ABs. He's at 100 after tonight. So, coming up on it. OPS 526, hitting 200. But he has been hitting better of late over the last week for sure. Over the last 2 weeks, he's been hitting better than his overall numbers. So, there's different ways to go about it with Lux. But again, continued improvement. I think the defense at this point maybe gets him a little bit more. Rojas might get a few more ABs. He's still hitting the ball, at least not striking out and putting the ball in play. He's kind of cooled down a little bit, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the Dodgers just need those top 4 to go. They need Muncy and Teoscar to, have good days more often than not. And then they need the bottom 3 to just come through occasionally. And Andy Pajes has obviously kind of raised the bar a little bit for that bottom 3, but Flux or, maybe not Outman, maybe Hayward comes back and he's down there and whatever the case is. But if those guys can just be respectable, then it goes a long way in making this offense from really good to elite.
Yeah. Craig makes a good point in the chat. Yastrzemski also robbed Mookie Betts. Mookie could have had 3 hits, including, that would have been at least a double if Yastrzemski doesn't catch that. And depending on how it bounces, maybe a triple. So it was a good offensive night. Clutch hitting for the Dodgers, especially, the big hit by Will Smith in extra innings. Getting 2 runs was big, knowing that JP Fireeisen was who they had left. But JP Fireeisen did come in and ultimately didn't allow any runs, becoming the 6th Dodger to earn a save this year, putting us 60% of the way to my prediction before the season. We're going to come back in a second. We're going to talk about the bullpen stepping up big and kind of pitching overall and what the bullpen might look like as they are 4 games into this 13 days in a row playing stretch and might need to make some moves. So we will dig into that. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You can pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks has something for every fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. So you can pick Nikola Jokic, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB in the PrizePicks app for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Hey, first thing I need to know, Vince, before we dig back in, did I say Nikola Jokic's name right?
I can't say for sure. I'll let the chat answer
How I
that.
just said it just now. Nikola Jokic?
Then yeah, you're good.
Look at me. I basketballed. Anyway, thanks. Welcome back. Thank you for those of us who are joining us live today. Thank you to those of you who are listening first thing in the morning because you're an everydayer. We appreciate all of you. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can also go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. Text directly with us. It's a lot of fun. Just a few bucks a month, free 14-day trial. Also check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels over on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network and over on Locked On Sports Los Angeles. After pretty much every game, Pete Fox is over there doing the postcast. I know a lot of you were over there live with him, and then you hopped over here. So it's a different voice over there, but more Dodgers content. So check those out. And the audio of those episodes shows up on our podcast feed. So if you listen on the podcast, you've probably seen those show up. So check those out if you're looking for more Dodgers content. And remember to listen to every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. With all that said, let's jump back in. JP Fireeisen did pitch the bottom of the 10th inning, scoreless bottom of the 10th, got a strikeout, then a walk, and then a double play. We'll dig more into the double play in the third segment, but Fireeisen capped off what was a very good night for the bullpen. 4 1/3 scoreless innings from the bullpen. They had Alex Vesia came in and shut down a rally when Yoshinobu Yamamoto couldn't get through the 6th inning. Vesia got the job done, and then Michael Grove, Blake Trinan, Daniel Hudson, and then Fireeisen each pitched a scoreless inning. It just continued a trend, Vince. This is the 20th straight game the Dodgers pitching has allowed 4 or fewer runs, which is a combination of starting pitching and the bullpen. But it's pretty remarkable to go that long. But the bullpen during this time, especially considering Evan Phillips, Ryan Brazier, Brusdar Graterol, Joe Kelly, the different relief pitchers the Dodgers have who are currently injured, it's pretty remarkable that they are pitching as well as they are.
Yeah, we got a comment here that JP was a bold choice for the 10th. There was literally nobody else to go. Gus Varlin had thrown at least 2 last 2 days or 2 of the last 3 days. And Nabil Crismatt threw 2 innings yesterday. And Yarborough's thrown 2 of the last 3 games. So there was nobody else to kind of pitch that 10th inning. Fireeisen was probably going to go to 2 innings if they ended up going to the 11th. So it's good for the bullpen. Obviously, a big night. They racked up the strikeouts, 6 strikeouts. It was, good to see. It's tough to kind of say, they're just playing the Giants and the offense isn't that great. But hey, Yamamoto gave up 4 and the bullpen gave up none. So there is a rhyme and reason to it. Grove looked good in the 1 inning, kind of recovering from his last outing where he didn't look as sharp. Daniel Hudson, a little bit of benefit from the umpire, but the umpire was bad on both sides tonight. So, you'll take the benefit where it maybe got taken away in some other positions. And then, Blake Trinan he's gotten the outs for sure, but his stuff is just nasty. And they said on the broadcast that he has more movement on his slider than he has before, and which is kind of ridiculous thing about considering it was already a video game slider, as they say before that. Now it's even more so. The 2-seamer was, going the opposite way. Like, I just hope that he can stay healthy because the way he's throwing right now is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the biggest challenge for Trinan, it seems like, is going to be figuring out where to aim it so that he can, because some of those sliders just moving so much that they were either easy to lay off for the hitters, or the hitters are like, well, there's no way I'm going to hit that, so I'm going to lay off it, and it ended up out of the zone. So figuring out how to start it where it looks like a strike and then, dips out of the zone and gets some swings, or start it where it looks like it's going to hit him in the front hip and then ends up at the bottom of the zone. There's I think that's going to, and then the same thing with the sinker going the other direction. Like you said, there's so much movement. And we saw that with Yency Almonte when he was really good a couple of years ago, that they talked about how the catcher would just set up middle of the zone and trust the movement to do the job. And so Trina's going to have some stuff to figure out there. Again, though, the movement is so good. The stuff is so good. He did get helped out. He walked a dude and then picked off the pinch runner and then gave up a infield single slide. I don't think they gave an error to anybody on that. Just an infield single. Should have been an out, but he got helped a little bit, but he helped himself by having great stuff. And it's going to be hard to hit the ball very well. I feel like the control is going to be the biggest challenge for Trinan, at least for the next little while.
Yeah. And then Fire Eyes in, we've talked about how the stuff, at least velocity wise, isn't quite there. He did have the off speed working last night. He got the strikeout to the first hitter on a pretty good off speed pitch. He's been good since he came back from the injured list. He's been in, some low leverage situations. This was probably the highest leverage situation he's been in. And, the 2-run cushion was obviously ideal, but yeah, we talked about this where the starting pitching and offense was going to have to help out the bullpen because, like you mentioned, JP Fireeisen doesn't touch the 10th inning. He's might even be on the roster if the bullpen's healthy. The bullpen's not healthy. They did have to throw some extra innings because of Buehler not going as deep on Sunday, and there was some guys not available. So it was one of those things where the guys that were available. And the other part, too, is like Vesia pitched, but only threw 3 pitches. So he'd be available again on Tuesday. Michael Grove only threw 10 pitches. I would assume if they need him, he'd be available to go on Tuesday. The guys that they didn't use would probably be available to go. So they kind of replenished in a sense. But I do think it kind of begs the question of what's going to happen or what they're going to do, because Wednesday we know is going to be some type of spot start bullpen game. But, I don't know if they bring up just one arm. I think they might have to bring up 2 arms.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, a lot of it will come down to how Tuesday goes and see what they can do. But, yeah, when you look at who might be available, and maybe Nabil Crismatt dodges the bullet because he did go he went 2 innings the other night. Mm-hmm. And so, but not pitching tonight. They avoid him again on Tuesday. Then by Wednesday, he's probably available again to maybe even give 2 innings again, which, that's a big one because he would have to be DFA'd again to get him off the roster. So that probably works out well for them. Yarbrough probably won't pitch between now and then so that he can give at least a couple innings. But yeah, they're going to need some length there. I'm interested to see if they call up an actual starter, somebody to try to give them bulk innings, because I don't know that they have the guns, knowing that they still have 7 more games in a row after this game. I don't know if they can really afford to do a true bullpen game at this point.
Yeah, Landon Knack can't come up till Thursday unless there's an injury. I think our buddy Eric Steven had mentioned Eduardo Salazar hadn't thrown. He's a guy that I guess can give some length. But, yeah, I mean, whatever it is, whether it's Yarbrough went back-to-back for the first time, I think, this season, and then it would be kind of tough to count on him to go like 5 innings. But, again, he's a guy that doesn't throw that hard, so maybe he does have one of those rubber arms and he can pitch a little bit more often, but I don't know if that's what they're going to do. But, yeah, I definitely think something's going to happen. Somebody's going to come up, and, whether it's Crismatt is going to be like, hey, you know what? Well, we know you just threw 2 innings a couple days ago, but we're going to need you to throw a couple more innings this game and figure it out. And you might get DFA'd after, but that's just the nature of the beast. But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those where to be this down this early in the stretch, considering all the injuries and everything that's happened, they're going to have to kind of reset themselves at some point. Maybe Gavin Stone can be that guy on Tuesday for them and, give them 7-8 innings. That way they can really, really replenish.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if they do just send somebody down or put them on the injured list, because injured list would allow them to call Landon Knack back up. If you get sent down, you have to be down for 15 days as a pitcher, same as if you get put on the injured list. And so, that there might be some backroom negotiations going on with, some pitcher right now. Hey, look, we can send you to the minors for 2 weeks, or you could keep getting major league pay to sit on the injured list for 2 weeks. Either way, you're not going to be pitching on the big league team in the next 15 days. So which do you prefer? And that would allow them to call in and knock back up to. We're getting deep enough in the season that there's probably starting to be nagging injuries that would justify an injured list stint for at least one of these relief pitchers. Sad thing is, it is a guy like Fireisen who, he's been, like you said, he's been really good since he came off the injured list last time. And there's a reason for 2021 and 2022 in 80 and a third innings, he had a 1.90 ERA. Like that, it wasn't an accident. He actually is a good pitcher, but like Joe Davis was talking about on the broadcast, it's been 2 years since he's pitched. Of course, there's going to be some rust. And so we saw a little bit of that tonight. That changeup looks really good. Like he's got decent stuff. And so I think he might actually be a contributor, but just the way the cookie crumbles for the roster, he seems like a likely guy to maybe end up either back in the minor leagues or on the injured list in the next couple days.
Yeah.
We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the defense. The game ended on a nice, smooth double play. Max Muncy to Gavin Lux to Freddie Freeman. Some numbers came out from Sports Info Solutions earlier today about defensive runs saved and showed the Dodgers leading the Major League Baseball in defensive runs saved as a team. We're going to dig into those numbers and the big contributors to that. So thanks again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Policygenius. Do you have people counting on you financially? If so, you know that life insurance is super important to protect your loved ones in case something were to happen to you. But finding the right life insurance policy can be time-consuming and overwhelming. That's where Policygenius comes in. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace, and it saves you time and money so you can provide your family a financial safety net starting today. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Back when I got my first life insurance policy, it was because my wife's cousin showed up at our house pretending he just wanted to see us and then pressuring us into buying a policy from him. Years later, we wised up and got help from an actual expert and got a much better policy that met our needs a lot better. I wish Policygenius had been around back then to save me time and money in the process. So if you don't have life insurance, it's time to get some. And if you do, it's still worth checking to make sure you have the right coverage. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. Hey, we are back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Be sure to become an everydayer by watching and listening every weekday morning. Become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles over on YouTube, and listen to every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. And you can listen to this podcast on the SXM app by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So, Vince, this game ended. Ground ball to Max Muncy. We're like all willing JP Fireisen to get us a ground ball. And he gets a ground ball to Muncy. Muncy makes a nice stab. Good, strong feed to Gavin Lux. Lux makes a good throw to Freddie Freeman in the dirt, but the easy scoop, the kind of scoop that 100% of MLB first basemen make 100% of the time, and ended the game. And it was kind of added to a lot of thoughts that I've had about the defense overall today, because this morning, Sports Info Solutions, we've had Mark Simon from SIS on the show. He's a friend of mine, and he always makes sure to tag me whenever the Dodgers are mentioned in any of their tweets. And I saw the Dodgers lead Major League Baseball in defensive runs saved as a team this year with 33. Second is the Royals at 32, and then the Blue Jays at 27, all the way down to the White Sox, negative 27. And it's funny to have a negative defensive run saved. Like it ought just be 27 defensive runs cost. But don't want to change the name of the stat just because somebody's in the negative. Right at the middle of the pack is the Phillies, right at 0. And so 33 runs the Dodgers have saved with their defense. And as far as the actual individuals, the big contributors have been guys who maybe we didn't expect. Max Muncy, Gavin Lux. So what do we have here? So Teoscar Hernandez in right field, 5 defensive runs saved. Andy Pages in right field, 5 defensive runs saved. Andy Pages has only been on the team for 3 or 4 weeks, and he's already got 5 defensive runs saved in right field. He actually doesn't grade out as well in center field. He's at -1, but in right field he is elite. The problem is Teoscar also doesn't grade out as well in left field. He's at -1, and so unfortunately you can't have Teoscar and Pages play right field at the same time. But if Teoscar can save that many runs in right field, he could probably.
Well, as long as one of them's playing right field, they're +4. So
yeah, but when you want both of them in the lineup, it's
yeah, but one of them's got to play right.
Yeah, that's true. And then you've got Mookie Betts, 5 defensive runs saved at shortstop. Max Muncy, 4 defensive runs saved at third base, and Gavin Lux, 4 defensive runs saved at second base. Interestingly, James Paxton, 2 defensive runs saved at pitcher. I think that the controlling the running game counts for the pitcher on defensive run saves. So I think that's what that number comes from. But if we had told people coming into the season, all right, the Dodgers are going to have the best defense of baseball, and it's going to be on the backs of Max Muncy, Gavin Lux, and shortstop Mookie Betts, I suspect people might not have believed us.
Yeah, and even knowing those stats, there's still probably people that might not believe us. But I think it's one of those where they're making all the routine plays, and I've got to imagine that making all the routine plays is beneficial when it comes to defensive runs saved. And that, Gavin Lux has made an error. Mookie Betts has made a few errors, but for the most part, generally makes the routine plays. Max Muncy has made the routine plays and has actually been really good, at least, to the eye test. Obviously, the numbers have shown that he's been really good, but, a couple leaping plays, a couple, backhand plays, a couple plays coming in. So, yeah, for what we thought might be, Freddie Freeman becoming a Gold Glover just based on the fact that he's going to have to pick all the balls or go all over the place. He has had to do that, but it hasn't necessarily been as much as we thought, and definitely not from the place we thought, so it's great to see that the defense is there for the Dodgers. And again, for Lux specifically, that defense might keep him around a little bit longer, even if the offense doesn't quite catch up yet.
Yeah, interestingly, Freeman is at -2 defensive runs saved at first base. And I actually asked Mark about that, and he wasn't in front of his computer, so he didn't know. He did tell me last year he knows, because Freeman, DRS hasn't loved Freeman for the last several years. And he said last year a lot of it was going to his right, balls between the first and second baseman. And we kind of saw that tonight. He went and got the ball, but then made a bad feed to the pitcher that may have cost them the out. It's tough to tell if Trinan missed the bag because of the throw. Probably was late getting to the bag.
Slow mo, it didn't seem that way, but in fast motion, it definitely did.
Yeah, but Freeman has been good for sure at scooping the ball. I know even back when he was on the Braves fans used to rave that Freddie Freeman was the best scooper in baseball. I have no idea if that's true. If it was true then, if it's true now, I don't know. Like I said, there's some balls like the last play of the game that every first baseman digs every time, because it's almost impossible not to catch that ball in a first baseman's glove. But then there are some hard scoops, and we see Freddie make them sometimes and almost make them other times. But the fact is, Freeman only has 2 errors this year. So it's not really a case of errors. He has 1 bad throw, and then that foul pop-up that he dropped that ended up not mattering. But there may be some plays he's not making. I'm hoping Mark will follow up with me if I get any interesting information. I'll pass it along here. But the other interesting thing on these team stats is that the Dodgers have 6 defensive runs saved on shifting their infielders. We don't have the true shift anymore, the actual overshift they used to call it. But we still have, plays where Mookie Betts is playing right up the middle against a left-handed hitter, or vice versa. Gavin Lux playing right up the middle against a right-handed hitter. And the Dodgers are among the best in baseball. I'm scanning through this. The only team that is better on shifting infielders than the Dodgers is the Braves. And then the Dodgers also have 6 defensive runs saved on outfield positioning. And that is far and away, not far and away. There's another team with 5. The Red Sox have 5, but the best in baseball on outfield positioning. So I guess when you throw in Gavin Lux and Max Muncy playing good defense and the Dodgers coaching staff doing well, it's a rough day for cognitive dissonance among Dodger fans, maybe.
Yeah, and if Miguel Rojas played more, I'm sure he'd be a positive on the defensive end. We've seen him make some pretty intense plays. One of those plays, the one up the middle where they got the out of second, had to get overturned. It was called safe, got overturned. That one he was already shaded up the middle and still had to make a crazy play for it. So yeah, it's one of those things where the Dodgers were already great at shifting when you could shift wherever you wanted. That's just continued on, and as much as people might hate analytics and everything else, we don't really hear it as much anymore. I would say maybe that's because you can't shift all the way to the right side, so you do cover the middle a little bit more than before. But I do think that plus Dodgers pitching plan plus everything else kind of adds up to we're playing to our strengths.
Yeah, and the Dodgers are winning on the margins, where the margins are more important because you can't do the huge changes. It is marginal changes, and they are winning on those margins. So all in all, this was a great team victory, pitching, hitting, defense, and hopefully the start of a sweep, get that bitter taste of the Padres series out of our mouths. The Padres lost tonight, and so the Dodgers picked up that game that they lost in the series with the Padres. We're now back, same lead that the Dodgers had over the Padres heading into that San Diego series, which, if you're the team chasing, that's frustrating. 4 fewer games on the schedule to catch up, and it's still a long season, but Dodgers they've won 16 out of their last 20. It was frustrating, the 2 that they lost this weekend, but overall, it's been a pretty good stretch for the Dodgers, and hopefully that continues on Tuesday. I think that's it. You got anything else, Vince?
Yeah, watch out for the Rockies. They're surging.
Yeah, the Rockies are going to make a move. They may be not the worst team in baseball by the end of this month, and maybe by June they'll still be pretty bad. I don't think they're going to surge. That'll do it for us. Thank you all for being with us. All of you live with us. We've had over 100 of you here at different points tonight, so thank you for that. Thanks for all the comments in here. Be sure to comment in the comment section if you are watching this on YouTube, either live or tomorrow. And if you're in the podcast, you can reach out to us in all the ways I'm going to tell you. You can listen to us every day. Thank you for being an everydayer. If you're not, just watch or listen every weekday morning. And then you are an everydayer. Make that easier on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening right now. You can become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. And you can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles over on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSince91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. Both of our DMs are open over there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.